Yes, I am. I was talking to my friend there, and she told me a hilarious insult, not a hilarious thing she does now, and it had to make me laugh. When someone is behaving strangely, you go, "Are you sure you're okay? You're sounding vaccinated." Or if they're talking really, they're not themselves. You go, "Is everything okay? You're acting like a vaccinated person." Boo, boo. That was next to another one I heard this weekend. You're paralyzingly mediocre. I suppose they could all be all interchangeable, couldn't they? There seems to be a growing consensus out there that I hate Catholics. There seems to be more people arriving on my wall posting things about that I hate the Catholic Church and I hate Catholic people and I have a problem with Catholics. Well, I listen to it. I have a problem with everything. You better get used to that part of it. But no, I don't have a problem with Catholicism or Catholics as such. Not at all. None of that's whatever person's religion is. That's their own business. The problem that I have with it, or the issue I have with it, is that there's a certain element of our society that seems to believe that Ireland's salvation, to use that term, or rescuing from the globalists is grounded in the the Catholic Church and the Catholic faith, and that I totally disagree with, and for lots of reasons. Where was the Catholic Church during the famine? Well, they were deliberately helping starvers, so they could ship off Irish to America and England and build Catholic communities around the world. That's why what's his name, Bill the Butcher in Gangs of New York was exactly right about it. There was the Pope's army. That's exactly what they were. Starved them in Ireland, and that way they'll go and set up new parishes in America. That was it. The Catholic Church, the papacy, was working hand in hand with the, by default, with the British royalty with that. That's the issue. I mean, the issue for me is that disbelief that somehow there's a certain element in the alternative scene in Ireland who believe that the way out of this is to go back to 1950s Ireland and Orthodox Catholicism. Well, that was a horrible Ireland. I grew up in the tail end of that, and it was a horrible, horrible Ireland. And I don't know any sane person would want to go back to that. That doesn't mean today is great, but that was terrible. Regarding Catholicism as a religion, I actually have a lot of time for it, believe it or not. I have no time for the papacy and the Holy See, the Vatican, and the empire, the machine, the the trappings of state, of the Vatican state. You've seen my documentary I made about Roberto Calvi. I'll put the link in the comments below so you can watch it if you haven't seen it, as to why that organisation can't be trusted on any level. Not just the famine, but things that have happened since. And look at the guy they have in charge now. He's like said that you can't get into heaven unless you've got the needlecraft. But in terms of the Catholic religion, I think it has an awful lot going for it. I think, firstly, it's mostly pagan. I'm sorry, it is. It's mostly pagan. The Catholic rites that you celebrate today, well, were until Vatican II, Vatican II, and the change from the Latin Mass, which they should have kept the Latin Mass, to then whatever your language is, and that was a big mistake, because that Catholic Mass goes right back to the Temple of Jupiter in ancient Rome. You're celebrating pagan holidays. You're celebrating Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They're all pagan holidays. You're celebrating pagan feast days. You're celebrating all kinds of pagan gods and goddesses and calling them your saints. Believe me, Catholics, when I say this, you're 90% pagan. You're only 10% Jewish. Okay, that's the Jesus and that the first 5 books of the Torah part of it. Other than that, you're 90% pagan. You just don't know it. But also, I think there seems to be an element where Catholics are attacked in order to change societies. And that's absolutely true. I'm totally down with John Waters on that one. That even though I didn't like Holy Catholic Ireland, and I grew up would have been one of the people rebelling against it, because like him back then, I would have been considered myself a liberal. At the same time, too, I understand that part of regime change always seems to involve going after Catholics. It's very interesting. There's a long history of this. If you look at the French Revolution, when the French Revolution, and you've seen my videos and talks on the the Council for Public Safety and the Committee for Public Safety in Paris and all that stuff during the revolutionary period. They literally genocided Catholics in the south of France after the revolution. That's never talked about. But that's one of the things is that's one of the reasons, the same reason they're allowing today, they're allowing sexual degenerates like pedophiles into women's bathrooms once they have a wig or call themselves a woman, is the same reason that the French revolutionaries released the prisoners from the Bastille. They needed an army to attack decent people with decent values. And what you do for that as a criminals and psychopaths, so you release prisons or you legalize pedophilia by the back door. And that's how you get your army. And in both cases, they always go with the Catholics. Another example of that would be the witch trials in England. After following, when King James came down from Scotland to become King of England, he found the country, England is very Catholic, believe it or not, in many terms. Like when I go around a lot of England, I feel like I'm in a very Catholic country. And it's not surprising. That's the England of Tolkien. I feel it in the landscape. And of course it was a part of the Roman Empire, and Ireland wasn't even part of the Roman Empire. But yeah, I feel that in England, that, there's something inherently Catholic about the English countryside. And when King James came down from Scotland, and remember, he was basically had been schooled in the Scottish kirks that there were three things to fear in this world: demons, witches, and Catholics. And the three things were totally interchangeable. And that's how they caught the witches at Pendle. In 1612, they issued a proclamation saying that everybody must attend church on Good Friday, Protestant church, Anglican church on Good Friday. And anyone who didn't was a Catholic. And this wasn't long after the gunpowder plot, and a lot of these people were connected. And they went to Malkintower near Pendle, and they found the witches in having a feast on Good Friday inside the house, and that's how they got them all. That's how and it's exactly the same today. The bureaucrats of the time were just like the needlecraft types in the bureaucrats behind the whole current bullshit. But yeah, so like there was a regime change in England, and they had to move it away from being a Catholic country to a Protestant one, and also and part of that was literally to fuse the idea that a Catholic and a witch was the same thing. So basically, there was no difference between the transubstantiation and say the Stations of the Cross and spells, potions, and charms and hexes. They were all this idolatry. They were all pagan idolatry. And that's that's why they constantly refer to Catholicism as pagan idolatry. Now, those English people back in that period who would have been still Catholics, they weren't obsessed with the Pope. The Pope would have been far away from them as anything. They wouldn't have cared about the Pope. They were folk Catholics. And that's where I always feel that the great strength and the great tragedy of Catholicism is the folk Catholic thing. To me, if Catholics broke away from the Vatican completely and started practicing their religion as folk Catholics outside the control of the Holy See and the papacy, they'd be in a much better place because of it, and I'd have a lot more time for them. The problem is when the church still offers proclamations, so many Catholics still follow them, and that's imperialist Catholics. So that's the great tragedy of it. I mean, as a religion, the Catholic Church has a lot going for it that the Abrahamics don't. Like it doesn't practice circumcision. It very rarely proselytizes. It's very rare that Catholics proselytize. It's usually conversions are done by Presbyterian churches. Homecoming festivals and this kind of thing, and conversions. It's very rare the Catholics do that anymore. And if they do, it was always done as a political thing in the past through empires like Spain and stuff like that. But that's not a primary thing in Catholicism to convert people. So, as the Abrahamic religions go, Catholicism is actually, as a religion and practicing it, is one of the soft end of the scales. I mean, it's, eating fish on Friday is hardly a great thing. And, I mean, they're not banned from having sex before marriage. You have the rhythm method and things like that, which doesn't work. The old joke is what you call people who use the rhythm method, parents. But having said that, most Catholics do use contraception and things like that, and because they see the common sense of it. That'd be a folk Catholic way of thinking. But no, I resent you lot coming in here because I'm a pagan and calling me anti-Catholic. I'm not anti any religion. I have no problem. It's only problem I have with religion is when it tries to convert me, and we're talking about like things like crusaders, jihad. But otherwise, I'm not bothered by it. It's your own business, and I have the most sort of the I've not a lot of big problems at all with Catholicism as a practicing Catholics have. But unfortunately, those of you who think that's the door to get us out of this globalist bullshit, well, I'm very sorry, because the Catholic Church was the first globalization. I know it piggybacked on the Roman Empire, but the very first globalization, the very first, Klaus Schwab was Jesus Christ. I know it's shocking to you people out there are Christians, but he was. Jesus Christ was the first Klaus Schwab. Well, he didn't exist for starters. There's no evidence he existed, and just like I said, no evidence St. Patrick existed, and he he was used as a mechanism to glue all the countries together, and that's why in my film Who Stole the Allfather, I mean he was Odin. There was no the Christ on the cross thing barely only existed about 1,000 years ago. Before that, he was a fish, a key, or a cockerel. I'm serious, or a lamb, and so again, the rites of Catholicism is actually quite beautiful. I think, there were like when I was growing up, things like Stations of the Cross used to make me very upset and depressed. When if you're not a Catholic, what you do is you go around the pictures of the Jesus in the church, going from his arrest to his crucifixion and resurrection, and it's just an off. They're usually really sad, and makes you depressed. But there's lots of things. Look at all the beautiful art and stuff created by the Catholic Church. I mean, if anybody continued the classical world in terms of architecture and art and the aesthetic of the art, it was the Catholic Church. It absolutely, because it came from it. It's the same thing. Have you ever been into, like, that famous church in Hanover that I've done films on, the Market Church with the upside down pentagram on the spire and the pentacle on the pentagram and the hexagram on the other side? I've been in that church. You know what it looks like on the inside? A prison cell. There's nothing in the place. Anglican churches aren't too bad, like the Church of England, the Church of Ireland, as Presbyterian churches, Protestant churches go. But like the Lutheran churches, it's like being inside a fucking prison cell. What's most amazing thing about a Lutheran church is the complete absence of God. Really, that's what it is. Unless it's some kind of demon or something you want to worship. I'm not putting down Lutherans. I'm just saying that's how your churches made me feel, and especially like those older ones. And so no, you're wrong about that. I don't have a problem with anyone's religion, and I don't hate Catholics. I don't believe Jesus existed, other than as an idea created out of Gospels, which were created by the Roman Empire, basically, and that's it, really, And I don't think you can fit a Western mind into a Semitic soul. I don't think the Western soul can be fitted into a Semitic shaped vessel. And our ancestors were Indo-Europeans, so they were always pagans going back forever. And even in Israel, there's a big pagan revival movement. There's a big pagan revival movement into worshipping the old pagan gods. So that's even in Israel, it's happening. Now, rather than Catholics, I mean, Protestants see devils everywhere. And I know there's nice Protestants out there. I'm not anti-Presbyterian. But unfortunately, your religion was founded at a time of great sectarian tension in Europe. And a lot of the neuroses built into those times, the Jesuit in the shadows, this kind of thing, the witches and demons around the corner, the King James of Scotland, that whole terror, demonology and all that stuff, that all is still kind of hardwired into Presbyterianism, into Protestant religion. You see it even in Northern Ireland. You'll still see towns in Northern Ireland where there'll be someone at the corner going, I mean, it's somewhat harmless. Like you'd be going like Portadown or Ballymena or in parts of Belfast city centre, and you'll see some guy at the street corner going, most of them will be harmless. They'll be singing like gospel revival songs, and the name of the Lord. Well, this kind of thing. That they don't bother me so much. They're kind of like street theatre. But you occasionally have this like messianic guy with the eyeball, free Presbyterian, ye shall be judged, that kind of thing. It's terrifying, and that comes out of that period, the period I was talking about of the Reformation. So Catholics, you're wrong. Firstly, I don't worship the devil. I mean, there was some muppet here the other day going, Sheridan, are you a Luciferian? No, I'm a pagan, right? And the Indo-European Greco-Roman god Lucifer, son of Aurora, brother of Diana, is one of the pantheons, one of the gods in my pantheon that I venerate. We don't worship anything, I venerate. It's an incredibly powerful archetype, the Luciferian archetype, and that's it. I don't worship the devil, no. And the Lucifer, as I said, is only mentioned in the King James Bible by a bad translation, or was it now? Was it? When you think about who King James was. See, King James was like a guy deeply paranoid. There was looking around assassinations attempts were on his life just after he became king. I mean, the Catholics had killed his own mother, and he was next, and you had Guy Fawkes and the Gunpowder Plot all happen around that time. So that religion, that English Presbyterian Protestant religion, I keep saying Presbyterian, I mean Protestant, because Protestant religion was founded, and in Germany and Sweden as well, was founded at a time of great terror towards the presence of the Catholics, and in particular Jesuits, in society, and that fused Catholicism and witchcraft together. And why was that, right? I'll tell you why. If you were a Catholic then, and even to this day, you're still worshipping pagan. Well, you're still venerating paganism. You are. You may not believe me, but you are. Uh, here's an exercise for all Christians, right? But especially for Catholics. Take the Presbyterian, take the pagan stuff out of your religion and tell me how much religion you have left. Take away the days of the week, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all named after even pagan planetary worship, solar and lunar observances, and Nordic gods, okay? Take that away, right? Take that away. You've lost your days of the week. Let's take away Christmas, Easter, All Saints' Day, and loads of other Christian festivals. They're all gone. They're all pagan. Yule, Ostara, and so on. Samhain, okay? They're all gone, right? So let's say, what do you have left? Well, we have the Holy Communion thing. That was kind of a pagan thing. That was all based on sacrifice. Okay, that's gone. What do we have then? The crucifix. No, you weren't even using the crucifix about 1,000 years ago. That was a pagan symbol. In fact, in early Christendom, you could be actually persecuted. Take care. The battery's running down. Look after yourselves. Bye. Bye, bye, bye. I don't hate Catholics. I don't have any problem with them. Leave me alone. I'm a nice man. Drink feck ass!